Welcome to episode 25 of Stiff Right Hand. This is Dominator Strala. My guest this week, Nova from ECW, Simon Dean, WWE. My name is Mike Bucci. Welcome to the show.
When he bangs old Tanya, he shoots a gallon. It's your podcast host. It's Big Stu Allen.
Enough of that bollocks. Blah, 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 blah. Here with my wife, Tanya Allen.
Hello, I'm here and all.
It's a good show this week. I'm finally nailed down Mike.
Not literally.
Nailed him right down.
What did you do to deserve that? It's not ECW anymore.
No, but it is
You guys need to calm down.
It is nearly Easter, so I thought
Easter CW?
No, nailing people to things.
Oh, okay. Well, how pure of me to go for that.
Pure of me to go for that. But, wonderful. I've been trying to get Mike on the show for a long time now. But due to his hatred of technology, that was very difficult. But we've sat down for nearly an hour and shooting the breeze about just about everything. We were talking about his first ever meeting with Vince McMahon, his introduction into ECW through Paul Heyman and Raven, and loads of other stuff as well. So that's really good. So stick around for that one later on. It's snowing, isn't it?
Is it? Because I don't have Windows and nobody's mentioned it on social media.
You mentioned it an awful lot.
No, well, to be honest, it's because everyone's pissing me off about it, that's why. Yeah, it is snowing, it's rather fucking lovely. It's that lovely fat snow that's laying everywhere. And it's making everything look almighty purdy.
Out here in the countryside.
Well, we're not really in the countryside, but...
We are really in the countryside.
Still pretty fucking nice.
We're in rural East Sussex, what's you talking about?
Well, I think the snow brings out a bit of wonder in people, makes them a bit happier. It also makes cunty people a bit cuntier as well.
It makes fucking people drive like twats.
Yeah.
It makes people incredibly... It's lovely first thing in the morning when there's that completely undisturbed look about the place and a feeling of blanketed silence, that everything's slightly muffled. What?
Well, when you said that this morning.
When I shouted at you this morning. And
then I fell over.
And I wasn't going to mention that, but thanks for that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so that's the fucking thing. So, Tan, as you know, last week, for those who tuned in, thank you, by the way, last week again, another whopping number of people tuned in. Within the first hour, we received, it was nearly over 1,000 downloads straight away, so thank you guys all over the world. We've got listeners in Japan, Russia, New Zealand. Thank you for tuning in. I'm assuming you speak English, but if not, arigato.
Arigato.
No, arigato.
Arigato.
No, it's not ara, it's ori.
Is it?
Ori. Have you not watched Kill Bill?
That, I'm afraid to tell you, is racist.
It's not. You're a fucking racist for bloody getting it wrong. It's arigato. Okay. And konnichiwa.
I know konnichiwa.
Yeah, well, you didn't know the other one. So there you go.
I know that you're a hoon.
But thanks for listening, all you lot around the world. And Molotov.
Oh, come on.
To all of you Russians out there.
Right, listen, so about this snowing, yeah? Let's discuss it. Let's get some stuff off our chest.
So those listening last week, before I know that you dropped your phone in the shitter and done a wee on it, and then I had to spend...
I didn't do a wee on it. I did a wee, flushed it, and then dropped my phone.
Done a poo on your phone.
No, and then dropped my phone down there, but the screen was already cracked.
No.
I went in the screen, and then it exploded, and it was all fucking terrible.
It exploded with pee-wee?
No, it exploded with electricity
You're a
because
fucking
I
idiot.
put it onto charge.
Well, you're a fucking arsehole. All of that, you're an arsehole. So then... so I spent money to better. I actually got the phone, nice phone. What'd she do? So this phone, this is why iPhones are shit and Android's better. Samsung Galaxy, so much better. Android.
Listen, if you like Galaxy so much, why don't you just fucking marry him?
I would do if I could. I like everything that's Galaxy is superior, including the chocolate and everything else. But why would iPhone have got a big a real. iPhone they annoy me because they've got you've got these glass screens. They've admitted that they make their batteries with a short shelf life, so you have to go after 2 years and buy another one. So now they've got really, really shitty shell-like glass on the front, and goddamn it, they've got glass back. So effectively, you've got a glass. What is a phone? What is all glass?
Yeah.
So what do you fucking do, dickhead?
Well,
Go and put it in your back pocket.
I didn't make it fucking snow.
Walk down the back of our drive this morning. We got
shouted me over.
Big old steep hill. Now I took hold of the rail, being an old fucker who's gone arse over tit down there many a time, and said, "Oh, be careful, love." And no, literally those words left my fucking.
You shouted me over.
The steam was curling through the air. That didn't reach your ear holes yet. And out there, the twigs went out from under you, little twiglet legs, and bumped your cheeky bum on the floor. And what do you know? So she's leg dropped her new fucking phone into a million pieces like a nitwit. Well done.
Yeah, the back glass is broken. 200 quid to fix that. They want.
So more. How's that more expensive than the phone?
Well, it's not more expensive than the phone. What you keep harping on about is that I got an upgrade, so I just paid the difference.
Well, whatever. I'm sure you could get it fixed cheaper than that.
You literally can't. 200 quid is the best price to get it fixed at the minute.
Why? I honestly don't buy iPhones ever again. They're shit. They're a waste of time, and they're shit. They're not even a good phone. And
let's talk about more things you know about technology, shall we?
Well, I know not to throw them down a fucking shit pan and sit on them.
Oh, now you've said that.
But that's the £310 in a week. That is spasticated.
Well, anyway, carry on about the snow. What about my fucking phone
I can't elaborate on the snow all that much.
Well, I can. Right, so I wanted to talk about why it is, like in the Daily Mail and that, they always give snowstorms and blizzards gimmicks.
Yes.
They do, don't they? And this one's called The Beast from the East.
That's Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying this one's the Beast from the East. It's coming from Russia or Siberia or whatever's over there.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? It looks like you're looking at your balls with a torch.
I am. There you go.
And I just it just made me laugh because it's like, why do storms have to have a fucking... Why do blizzards have to have a gimmick? Snowmageddon! £15 covers your whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. It's just weird to me. I don't know. I also fucking hate how people don't, people bell ends on Facebook when it's snowing. So, especially parents. My Facebook this morning, instead of just, loads of, funny memes to start the day, which it usually is, was just parents going, "Does anybody know if Button Langton School is open? Does anyone know if this school's open? I'm not sending my kids to school. No, because it's not right and it's not fair to make them walk through all that." Fuck off. I had to walk through the snow. Do you think I got a fucking day off because it was snow?
I had to do fucking cross country in the
snow.
In my pants.
Same. Well, we've heard this story.
Well, you have, but I was in the snow. My little chilblain legs, fucking little spam legs from McGee. My little nut sack all fucking tucked up inside.
You get into school, your school shoes would be soaking fucking wet.
Yes.
You'd be soaking wet. You'd have corned beef legs because back in the day you had to wear school skirts if you were a fucking girl, which, by the way, is sexist.
Yeah. Oh.
It's just fucking hokey. It's not right and it's not fair to let the children walk through the snow.
Woman's Hour on Radio 4 then for a minute.
What?
You harping on about fucking things what are sexist at school. So carry on. Drizzle. Yeah, so let me look, enough of that. I'm bored of that. Go on then, talk more about your snow things. What do you want to say about it? About you not being able to find milk today?
Oh god, that was another thing. Well, one other thing I hated was one woman was banging on about I couldn't possibly. No, the children can't leave the house today because what if a driver loses control and then mounts the curb and then strikes a child and then a child is dead? Statistically, that could happen without the snow. So, I mean, if you're going to teach your kids that that's something to fucking worry about, then probably you shouldn't. I don't know, it just seems like everyone just wants to raise a little fucking next generation of snowflake, weak, fucking victim kids. Be scared of everything. Like I was saying to you earlier, do you remember when the clowns were a thing? And everyone's like, oh, the clowns, people are dressing up as clowns and standing in the road and people are dressing up as clowns. Well, the snow's a little bit like that. Oh, the snow's coming, the snow's going to be in the road, the snow's going to kill our children. It just fucking drives me insane. And another thing that they fucking do is that they panic buy milk and bread from supermarkets.
Since the beginning of time.
Yeah, but it's fucking bullshit because do you know what? If you're snowed in, what are you not going to be able to fucking sustain your family on? Milk and fucking bread. Tins is what you fucking want. Nice big fucking chunk
I don't understand
of
what
meat.
people go
Fill
for
your
to-
fucking freezer up.
I don't know what you're going to be able to make with milk and bread other than...
Listen, supermarket milk and bread as well. How long does that fucking last? 3 days most?
Yeah.
Like, not even as long as it should
buy
do.
it then.
It's fucking, but it's so annoying.
That means there's more minstrels for me. And
I
Cocoa
couldn't get
Pops
a
and all sorts
fucking
of good
delivery for my cafe, which is a milkshake fucking cafe. I couldn't get a milk delivery because in the fucking snow, no, it's it's treacherous. It's inclement weather. That's fucking British,
It
isn't it?
wasn't fucking treacherous at all. They didn't even
No,
do
the
anything.
sun came out and then nothing happened, and it was like very lovely, and then it melted away, and ultimately everything was fucking fine. And then so we had to like go on this fucking mad fucking, was it goose chase? Is that the figure of speech I'm thinking of? Wild goose chase.
No, it's,
goose hunt.
yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, it's a goose hunt.
Is
Isn't it?
Yeah, for milk. And it was fucking stupid, and I hate.
Goose chase. I just want to see how stupid you are. Yeah, go on.
That's
carry on.
really mean. That was pretty stupid.
We're going with wild goose hunt.
Do you remember that time I asked you what a male chicken was called?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all just fucking stupid and dreadful. And I love the snow. I hate people in the snow so much.
I hate the snow.
So very much.
I was always fucking indoctrinated to hate the snow anyway, because my father was a golf professional, so of course it affected his business. And so I was not even allowed to show the merest bit of fucking happiness at the snow through fear of getting a backhander. So there we go. There's that.
I did see a thing, like there's a bit on the courtyard where dogs always wee and poo. And we always have to flush it with like hot water because sometimes we don't clean up after their fucking dogs. And if you're one of those people, you're a cunt and I hate you. And it was really funny today to see kids in snow suits stop dropping and making snow angels in like the Pee-wee corner.
Oh, good.
So,
there you go. There's something.
That did amuse me.
Children rolling around in dog excrement always cheers me up.
Yeah.
There's a talk this year. WWE are really in trouble with their house numbers. And all fans are saying WrestleMania's going to be on its arse. Heard that from Little Man Dan last week. I've heard it since.
Could you say that maybe that is a direct result for there being so much fucking content on WWE Network that you don't actually really need to go and see a live event anymore?
Yeah, quite
because
right.
you get to see
the good stuff.
Well, yeah, you get to see the show, you get to see all the dark matches, you get to see all the backstage fucking
I believe
content.
so.
It's so access all areas now that they were like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what's happening.
Oh yeah, well, I'll pay fucking hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a ticket, or what I can do, $14.95 a month, get the WWE Network or steal Liam's password and get it for free, and just watch as much as I want in my pants, in my house, where the snacks are good and there aren't children.
Yeah, it's bad. It's but yeah, there's far too much. It's ridiculous. And they're saying about they're on their knees ticket wise, so they ended up throwing Ronda Rousey into it last minute and give her the contract signing just to get a bit of a draw. Wow, so that sucks. As for wrestling, we were just up in Gosport, weren't we?
Yeah, I had a great night
on Friday night for our friend Chris Kay. Thank you, Chris, if you're listening.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thanks for having us up there. Team Extreme, we were up there. Myself, Scarlett, AWOL Titan, and some 2 tag team matches, and you against our women's champion Erin Angel.
Yeah.
So dear lovely Erin, and it was great seeing Jace there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jace took on this sort of walking around wigging everybody out in the locker room role.
Hello, brother, how's it going?
Just like always makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong, even when I'm not. Like,
no, I like to when he was sneaking up behind people and listening to them putting their shit together and just looking around at me going, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That
he
sort of look on
does
his
that to me
face.
at ours, right? And he always did that to me in his Jinx gear. And do you know how you can always hear Jace coming because of the fucking bells on his boots?
Yeah.
Somehow that cunt can also move without you hearing the bells on his boots. So sometimes he'd just fucking be there in like Jinx paint and you'd be like, okay, brilliant, now I'm terrified, could you fuck off please? Except you don't tell Jace to fuck off because Jace can actually kill you. So yes, bad times. Bad times for all of us kids.
Good show, though.
Yeah, great show.
Unusual booking, but it was still very good. And
you got to wrestle that Rob Frampton, didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't say wrestle.
Well,
I don't think anyone would say wrestle. I think I got to...
Battle of the Power Bellies.
I got to smash Rob Frampton about a bit, and he gave me a beautiful body slam.
Nice.
And then he made me part of the fucking canvas. But it was very... no, it was good, man. And the crowd were really, really hostile.
Oh, boy, were they.
You got punched in the tit.
Yeah, it was fucking dreadful, actually. Like, that bit was because we had to walk through the crowd because there wasn't like a runway or anything to get out. So went over on Erin, and she's like former women's champion, and she's returning, and they were really up for it. And I'm just a fucking arsehole, really. So I just did that shtick, and they didn't like it, and it was cool. And I stood there in the ring for about 2 minutes, just like with my finger on my lips, shushing them. So by the time I got out, they were fucking up. It was cool. I noticed like a little divide in the crowd though. So like all the little girls were like were popping my shit, but all the little boys wanted to fight me. Yeah, sure. I remember my first boner too. Fuck off. But so they were just like being really handsy and just like punching me on like just like fucking kid punches and slaps on the way through, which I can fucking deal with. I'm not happy about it, but can deal with. One kid fucking ran up to me and punched me in the tit as hard as he fucking could. So I shouted in his face, proper screamed in his face, "Don't ever touch me again, you little cunt!" Like that. He went white and started crying. Another kid was hitting me with this fucking inflatable hammer, and I snatched it off him and just like didn't break eye contact with him, but just like with very minimal movement of my hand just popped this fucking inflatable hammer. And his mum was like, "You have to buy him a new hammer." So I just pie-faced this flaccid hammer into her face. Fuck off, love. Piss off. And then there was like fucking loads of them trying to like kick and punch me as I went through the door. So I just flung the door at them. I was just like, "Fuck off, you little shits!" They all just stood there like a baseball bat at them. I was like, "I am not your friend, you little fucks. Don't touch the talent."
No, I threw some kid's mobile phone from one end of the room to the other.
Didn't you think they were a bit antsy?
No, they weren't. They weren't with me. They were just trying to come up, run up, and.
Do you think it's because I'm a girl? They think that I won't fucking hit them because I will.
Yeah, they were really hostile. They were great. It was a night, but all crowds used to be like that back in the day. When I started, everywhere you went, up north, down south, in the Midlands, every show was like that. That was literally every show.
That's fucking cool.
So, except for there was adults trying to punch you most of the time. No, it was. I've had people try and dive under the bottom rope to get in the ring before. We used to have punters try and grab hold of you all the time. It was when you got thrown out of the ring, that was more dangerous. It was like that often. But yeah, it was good. So well done, Chris K. And all Ian. It was great to see old Chris Mans.
Yeah, it was lovely backstage.
Yeah, it was nice. And so there you go. That's that. So
I got a question for you.
Go on.
Quicksand, yeah?
Yeah.
You remember quicksand. Now, riddle me this. Why is it that quicksand, in your everyday adult life,
thing,
it is. Why is quicksand, in your adult life, not as big a deal as you were led to believe it was going to be as a child?
No, I wanted to discuss about whatever happened to.
Yeah. Can not our first one be whatever happened to quicksand?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, whatever happened to.
Okay. Whatever happened to quicksand, Stu?
I'm not even so sure that it was a real thing. It was just stuff that you used to see in the Beano, wasn't it?
No, because like Batgirl, she had a problem with quicksand. That was in it was in Batman a lot, quicksand. It was in Princess Bride.
Do you know where it was in most? Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and the Beano. But like, in cartoons, Captain Caveman.
And how did the sign stand up?
Oh yeah.
Telling you what it was.
Thank fuck for that sign.
Yeah, how did that sign stand up in the quicksand?
Maybe it was just like a really, really, really tall fucking sign.
I used to worry about that when I was a kid. I said like video nasties.
Yeah, what happened to video nasties?
We're
just doing too many of them.
My mother, being a right-wing conservative, being a Tory voter, Daily Express reader, was always giving me lectures on video nasties. And I never knew what one was.
Give us an example of a video nasty, looking back.
Driller Killer.
Oh.
That was the only one I can think of, and that was shit.
Stupid.
Driller Killer was shit.
I guess only the trauma stuff would be video nasties.
I'm not sure that was trauma, was it?
No, it wasn't. But
things like Toxic Avenger and any of that stuff. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Cannibal Holocaust.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I spit on your poo, or I poo on your spit, or whatever.
Spit on your grave.
There you go.
And on your dinner.
I poo on your feet.
Don't poo on my feet.
I've weed on your toes.
No, you haven't.
I have.
I have not.
I've weed on the floor and then you've stood in it.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that.
But that wasn't a video nasty. That was just me talking. But yeah,
is your piss on the bathroom floor a video nasty?
That was a hell on me.
Is that quicksand?
Yeah. but yeah, video nasties. I'm going to do a whole bunch of them now.
Well, do you know what we can do is at this point, let's say, get on our Facebook or our Twitter, and let us know some of your whatever happened to's. So I don't know, whatever happened to quicksand, whatever happened to video nasties, what are yours?
There's loads. Glue sniffing.
Yeah, whatever happened to glue sniffing? That's not
anything from my childhood.
Whatever happened to pogs?
Fucking, we talked about pogs yesterday. Not me and you, me and Willis. He was discussing about when I was a kid, other kids putting pogs up my arse or something. And I said, I don't remember. I don't ever remember what pogs were. I think
you
they were
never
little
played,
discs.
yeah. They were discs, and you put them picture side down, and then you get a slammer, and then slammers are either thicker plastic or metal. Like metals were like the boss slammers, right? So they were valuable. And and then you bounced the slammer on the pogs, and it was like that little flick of the wrist motion, and then whatever pogs turn over to face up with the momentum of the slammer, you then kept. So it's like early gambling.
Sounds a load of old pish.
No, it's fine. I'm going to get you some pogs, and you're going to fucking love it.
I don't want pogs. It was out of my. It's you know. I was
you just had ball and you had like a stick and hoop, ball in a cup.
No, we never had pogs.
Ball in a cup.
I was too old for by the time pogs came around. I was
open stick.
No, not even. Probably. I don't understand kids and their toys now. I don't get them. Like those fidget spinners. I think they're fucking ludicrous.
Oh, yeah, those are bollocks. Those are supposed to be for autistic kids or something to help calm
Originally,
down.
I took one off a kid the other day and said, I'll give Sky on that. And he was like, oh, no, shut up, let me try it. And I did try it, and I was giving it back to him and said, I don't see the fucking fun in this. Absolute rubbish. But yeah, glue sniffing's another one.
Yeah. White dog poo.
That's fairly common.
You don't see it anymore.
Ripped up pornographic magazines in hedgerows.
Yeah, on the way to the doctor's surgery.
You're always guaranteed a good wank on the way home from school. So I remember being hurried along, and by my mum, like, you know, no, don't look at those, Stuart. Don't look at those. But Mum, why she got so much hair? But no. So yeah, there you go.
Here's another one. Whatever happened to? You used to be able to get really fucking great yogurts as a kid. And one was called, my favourite ones were called Fiendish Feet or something like that. And what they were was these little yogurt pots. And then they had like monsters on them, so like Frankenstein's monster, or the white one would be a vampire or something. And then they stood and they had these little plastic feet. And it was like a little monster, and you ate your yogurt out of him. And another one that was really good was called Frufo. Right, and it was a UFO yogurt, and it had popping candy and stuff, and they had a little alien toy in the middle, like he was flying the fromage frais UFO, Frufo, get it? Nice.
Yeah.
And another one, what I really loved, which was a gimmick, was called Gloop, and you poured it, and it was just sort of like a blancmange custardy type thing. Gloop. It was like a blancmange custardy type thing, and it was like two colours when you poured it out, and it was just like a two-colour gloop. And that was alright. And those are yogurts. Whatever happened to yogurts from my childhood? I
think this conversation has gone on far too long. That's what I think. Far too long. What about that horror film we saw the other night?
Oh, that was alright, wasn't it? What was it called? Selfie from Hell.
It was weird.
Well, it was originally a bunch of shorts that was it a media student?
Yeah, shot by an author and a film student entitled Selfie from Hell. and it focuses on a selfie-snapping woman who notices a looming figure appear behind her in photos and is subsequently attacked by what turns out to be a horrifying zombie. That was the original. That was the original viral thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, the viral short.
And that was the viral short.
Because I remember seeing that, and the short was fucking fantastic. So with each selfie she took, this fucking looming beast thing, demon, horrible shadow guy, came closer and closer to her, and eventually it took her.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And then the film was kind of like, it was taking that as a bit of its inspiration, but
there was very much a bit of the Ring all about it, wasn't there?
Yeah, a little bit. It was.
There's a bit of my Ring all over that.
Yeah, it was.
No, the Ring. They had a bit of the Ring with it because it was like take 13 snaps and by the 13th when you're done.
Yeah, but it was more than that. It was about if you went to find this room in the dark web, and you'd opened this file, and then the demon has seen you, and then you've got.
Did you got a demon?
A demon. No, it's a demon.
Oh, people do say demon.
And Chimberley, they say as well.
Fucking spastic.
And Hurst, when they mean Hurst.
Nah, fucking those people are wrong.
And Espresso, when they want me to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get the bit about the room, but I thought it was quite good. I like, because I used to be a fan of the found footage stuff, and now people are starting to use... social media and mobile phones and drone footage as, a good way to put a different spin on a horror film, and I kind of like it, if I'm honest.
I like it too, because I think that the best horror films always come from a place where they could actually happen.
Yeah, and there's loads of good ways of making it look very, very real, and I think they're good. It was alright. I can't say I was thrilled with the finish. Don't spoil it for...
It was weird, but I feel like to explain the finish, they should have made more of the two fundamental rules of the film. I can say that, and you'd agree without me spoiling the end, right?
Yeah. But no, check it out. Selfie from Hell. Available on Sky Store.
Yes.
And anyway, so now I'm going to take you to my exclusive interview.
Is it exclusive?
Yes, he's the man who, in the late 90s, shot to fame through ECW as Nova and Supernova, and Hollywood Nova. He then went on to WWE, where he was Simon Dean. I know him as Mike Bucci, a very good friend of mine, and the other day we managed to catch up and have a good chat on Stiff Right Hands. Here it is, and we'll see you on the other side.
Snoochie Boochies.
Giving you your weekly dose of a kick in the nuts, this is Stiff Right Hand.
Hey, I'm Stu Allen here with Stiff Right Hand, and coming up now is someone I've been trying to get hold of for a very, very long time. He's a very good friend of mine, Supernova from ECW, also Nova and Simon Dean at WWE, but I know him as Mike Bucci. Hello, Mike.
Hello, my friend. Yes, you have been trying for a while. It's all on me. It's my fault. I
didn't think you'd been deafing me. I just know that you're a bit like me, and the years are creeping by, and technology fucking passes us by.
Yeah, just my weeks are so busy with all the quote-unquote real world stuff that the wrestling world is hard to fit in sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
Man. No, I hear that, but it's great to talk to you, man. I was just telling my wife this evening, I cannot believe it's been 17 years since I saw you last.
Dude, I almost fainted. When you were asking me to do this, I was kind of looking back, and I started thinking about that whole thing, how it went down with, I think the kid's name was Jamie, who was part of your rap, and John Paul or something, and the whole gang over there, and I was like, oh my God. I don't remember. I remember I wrestled Doug on one of them.
Yeah, well, I saw Doug. I was with Doug the other night, but we were. That was FWA, wasn't it? Back in
it was. You were incredible, man. You seem like the same dude now you were 17 years ago.
Well, a bit more grey.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, for every guy like you, Stu, unfortunately, like myself too, there's so many guys that aren't like us. So when I meet somebody like you, it just stands out where, like, here it is, 17 years later, and you're still like, wow, Nova was probably one of the easiest, coolest guys I've ever dealt with.
Well, you were always, mate. I was friendly enough. I was talking to my dear old mother the other day, and I told her I was going to speak to you, and because my mum had a huge crush on you when you came over, and
she was great. Every person that you brought me, I stayed at your house, didn't I?
You did indeed. Yeah, you stayed with us, man. And we hung out, and I was talking to Francisco Chiazzo about you the other day as well. And we had some good times, man. But like I say, you're an absolute gentleman. You're all business and cool as shit, man.
There's no reason not to be, Stu. Unfortunately, there's so many veterans and guys in the business that are just selfish or in it to themselves, or they're drug addicts or losers or whatever it is. I never went that route. You never went that route. There's no reason to do that, man. I was over there with you guys on your show. I know a lot of effort went into bringing me over there. Mm-hmm. So when I went over there, when I was meeting your family, whoever it was, wives, girlfriends, people, friends, all of that, it was so important to me to leave a good impression where you guys would want to do business again with other guys like me.
Absolutely. So, well, you were certainly the standout guy we brought over, and it's been many years since we brought over imports, but you packed the place out. You were fantastic, a great representative, and times were tough too, because if you remember, it was just a few months after September the 11th as well.
I totally remember that. I actually, again, kudos to you guys. We stayed in touch the whole time after that. We were doing, putting it all together, the plan, the whole thing. And from the minute I landed in the UK until the minute I came home again, it was a fantastic time. We got to work out there. The shows were good. Everybody was cool. And I felt like I brought a certain, I don't want to say star power, but something from America, from ECW, where all you guys got to be around me. I got to be around you guys, and you guys were like, wow, man, I actually can shoot to be that one day. Maybe I could wind up there.
Mate,
so
it was cool. It was a fucking big deal having you over, brother. But I wanted to talk a little bit to you about your time in the business, and how you got into it. I know that you were trained by the legendary Iron Mike Sharp. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, probably similar to you too, Stu. Like, I was a guy, and this was different back then. Like, I started in late 1991. There was a wrestling school that opened up near me in Bricktown, New Jersey. Mike Sharp opened it. I went there when a friend of mine was training there, and I was just watching him, and I was hanging out. So after a couple months of that, Mike asked me to get in the ring and try it, and I did. I was a short, kind of fat guy just out of high school. I was going to college, working at Wendy's. I never thought anything was going to come out of it. I screwed around in the ring. I had no idea what I was really doing. And about 6 months at his school, he started bringing us up to the WWE TV tapings, and we would be the job guys and stuff, because that's how you started back then. Mm-hmm. That was where I met a young PJ Walker, the Young Hardy Boys, a bunch of us. That's how Scott Taylor, who was, Scotty Too Hardy.
Yeah, man.
All those guys started back to those job guys. So, I literally went to a wrestling school because I was a lifelong fan. And I'm not saying that's not the same thing today, but I feel like the business today, it's a lot easier to get noticed. I think it's harder to stick around. It's easier to get signed, but it's harder to stay signed.
Yeah.
So, like, you were a fan your whole life. You joined up. You got in the business. There's a lot of guys today who joined when the Attitude Era was hot, or when The Rock was hot, or Stone Cold was hot. They've seen, like, one version of wrestling. Like, they don't really – I just feel like some of the guys today, they don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you see it more.
That's an excellent point, because I was talking to someone about this the other day. The wrestling school that I run, I see two different types of people. I see the people who know the history of wrestling, all the way back to the 70s and 80s, and know all about Smoky Mountain and know about the NWA. And then you also have the other people that just want to get into the wrestling business for the fame and fortune and only think there's WWE out there.
Yes, dude. Here's the thing, and I'll tell you this. One of my better friends that I made in the wrestling industry through time were Matt Morgan, Matt Capitelli, and John Hennigan. Mm-hmm. All three of those guys went on Tough Enough, and the reason I bring it up, I never cared how someone got a shot to get into the wrestling industry. It's what you did once you got it.
Absolutely.
So I found that the people who were lifelong fans and really wanted to put their all into this actually turned out to be better long-term prospects than the guys who, Matt and John and Matt Morgan, they were fans. But the way they got their foot in the door was through Tough Enough. Yeah. They didn't have to do 10 years on the indies to get a shot. I had 10 years in before I ever went to WWE.
Exactly.
And now these days, hell, Stu, I mean, you could be at somewhere doing something and get a tryout and not even have a background in wrestling, and then literally a month later you're at the Performance Center when you have 2 months under your belt in the wrestling industry. So It's different.
It's unbelievable, man. It's like, you see some of the kids now, they're going over to Japan and, they're paying their own way to get over there. And like you say, back then, it really meant something. But like you say, nowadays, I guess it's like the fucking, the pseudo celebrity gimmick with, people like Jersey Shore being celebrities. Everyone's getting them through the back door, do you think?
It's very easy to become, with social media, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to become famous today, Stu. But again, it's harder to keep your fame.
Boom.
You're never going to see, in the acting world, like your De Niro's or Brad Pitt's or these amazing long-term actors. You're never going to see Michael Jackson's or Aerosmith's like that. You're just going to see guys, or for you, like an Elton John or Queen or something like that.
Stadium fillers.
You're not going to see that anymore. And in wrestling, you're going to see a lot of guys who are going to come in. They're going to be indie stars. They're going to come in and make some money. There's a difference between making money and drawing money. But a lot of guys are going to come in hot. They're going to get over. They're going to get a lot of press, a lot of fame. But they're going to fizzle out because they don't know how to maintain that fame.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what this has evolved into, necessarily the business I was in or that you were in, but if this is what it is, you have to accept that and say, hey, this is where we're at.
That's right. I mean, you can't. I was having this conversation with a young guy who works over here called Will Ospreay. You probably heard of him. He works in Japan.
I've seen his stuff. He's an athletic, good kid.
He's very athletic.
He seems like,
but I mean, I was talking to him. I put up that meme with Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. They're sitting there, they're holding a beer, and it says, "Oh, these were guys in the '80s, and these are the guys now." And he kind of took it the wrong way and was like, "Well, wrestling got good now," and I was like, "No. Do you know what I mean? You can't say that because
wrestling got different. I've never met Will, but I would classify him. There's a whole bunch of guys now, a lot of flip flyers, Ricochet, a bunch of other guys. These guys are incredible athletes. The PWG guys, there's a whole bunch of those guys that do some amazing stuff. To me, a lot of those guys today, Stu, are a more athletic, souped-up version of what we were doing in ECW, a lot of us. And a lot of that stuff looks amazing. It's incredible. You can tell. I think wrestling, the business has. I do think it's changed a little bit to some degree. Now the guys are performing athletic contests, and the fans are going to sit there and appreciate the athleticism. In some federations, in some places, they're going to appreciate the athletic spectacle what they're watching. It's not necessarily good versus evil, somebody trying to beat somebody. It's a presentation of the match. And I love the athleticism. I love the guys working hard. The only thing I would caution them from a guy who's, what are you now, Stu? 40-something? How old are you?
Yeah, 42, man.
I'm 45. So I would tell, a 45-year-old guy, 42-year-old guy, I would tell them, guys, I was you 20 years ago. And I'm telling you right now, every bump, every jar, everything is going to add up. And I feel like the guys today, they're doing so much amazing stuff in the ring. They're going to have shorter careers.
Absolutely.
I hate to say it. I hope I'm wrong. But you get a couple of those big injuries, man, they mount up. And your window being able to make good money is going to be shorter and shorter. And unless they have a personality, a charisma, something to fall back on where they can slow down and get some mileage out of it, they're going to have shorter careers. But I love the athleticism. The guys are not lazy. The stuff is super cool. But I would just caution them and say, hey, you guys need to watch a little bit because you're going to wind up having short careers.
I couldn't agree more, man. I want to talk to you a little bit about, after Vince McMahon and that saw you guys sort of between 92 and 94 when you were going up doing the talent enhancement stuff. Were you a lover of the golden age of the comic books? Because I know your first, your Supernova incarnation was your first thing that you did. Was that your idea?
Yeah, I was a lifelong comic book fan. I was going to Mike Sharp's school. I had a bunch of different ideas I wanted to come up with. And I was sitting home one day, and I had all my big value comic books in bags hanging on my walls and stuff. Nice. And I'm sitting in my bedroom, and I looked around, and I said, wait a minute, there's never been a superhero in wrestling. And up until that time, there really wasn't. I mean, the Blue Blazer was around for a minute. I think Owen was doing that like a year or two after. I don't know if he was doing it at the same time. It might have been after. But that was the closest thing I remember. And but nobody was doing like a tongue-in-cheek slapstick superhero. So that's exactly what I went for. And it's how I got noticed. I was on an independent show. Raven was on, too. Raven came up to me at the end of the night and said, hey, man, I'm forming this group in ECW, because he was just starting to take off. I already knew Steve Richards, because Stevie used to come to Mike Sharp's. Mm-hmm. And I met Blue Meanie, and he put the three of us together, and we were the original flock for Raven. And that's how I got in ECW, yep.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because after you came over, the only other two American guys we brought over were Scott Taylor and Raven. And
I'm sure that
Raven and I spoke about you for a long time, and what an incredibly knowledgeable guy he is.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. A lot of people bag on him every now and then. You know, he's this, he's that. Scotty, if it wasn't for Scotty, there'd be a lot of guys who would have never got a shot in wrestling. He got a lot of guys jobs. He's a good dude. He had his demons in the past. He's beaten them. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I always call him boss when I see him. I owe my shot to him. He got me in ECW. He's a good dude, man. He was a really sharp mind in the business. He knew what was up. A lot of guys owe him. I don't feel like Raven got his – I don't think he gets his full due credit in the industry of just how – because, Stu, think about it. He changed gimmicks, too. Like, when he came out in the early 90s doing the Raven gimmick, that was, like, one of the real – first, like, real where the layers were peeled back. And this was, like, a real dude who had, like, went through angst and anguish. And he was deep and – philosophical in his promos, and it was like Jake the Snake-ish a little bit. Like,
mate,
you had to,
100%, yeah.
Like, this is incredible, and the style that he wrestled and his look with the gear and all that. I mean, there's a whole generation to this day of wrestlers who emulate him.
He was phenomenal, man, and I found him nothing but personable. I couldn't believe his wealth of knowledge, the fact that, you know, he'd spent so much time at Titan Towers creating, you know, helping out on Raw and in the archives, and just his love of the job from top to bottom was incredible.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's always an asset to have around. I haven't seen him in a long time. I hope I see him again soon, but he's a sharp dude. He's a cool guy. He was always, you know, he drove me, Meanie, and Stevie many, many nights, sat around trying to think of a way that we could probably kill him legally and get away with it, because that's how crazy. But on the flip side of the coin, if anybody else had tried it, we would have died trying to defend him. So, yep.
As after the Blue Meanie finished with ECW, I think that was the time when you changed your gimmick and just shortened it to Nova.
Yeah, I switched to Nova. I knew I was wanting to do more, so I just got to Nova. Chris Chetty wasn't doing a whole lot, so me and Chris used to hang out and work out all the time. So me and Chris Chetty became a tag team, and there was a time where I felt, and a lot of other people, we were probably one of the best teams in the world. We were spot on. Our teamwork was great. We had a lot of really good matches. That really put me over the edge confidence-wise. Like the last year and a half, 2 years at ECW, I got in much better shape. I was training hard, and I really felt like I had a shot to do more than what I was doing.
Yeah, man. Well, I was going to say, during that time, that was, like you say, that was, I guess, near the end, sort of 98 to 2001. What was the best era for you in ECW?
For me, I'd say, like, when I first got there, the end of 95, like, the whole time with Raven, and then the whole time with BWO, we're doing the BWO. I mean, that's something we did 20 years ago.
Because you were there when it was hot.
Oh, man, I mean, we were selling out we were an act that was supposed to be a parody, and we wound up becoming main eventers.
Yeah.
And we actually got it over so much that we were on the WWE's Greatest Factions Ever DVD. I mean, we did WrestleCon last year at WrestleMania weekend in Orlando, and we had one of the longest lines of the weekend. So and it was made by the fans. The fans loved it. They saw what we were trying to do. They appreciated it. But for me, like the 1995 to 98 era was awesome. I mean, I loved my entire time in ECW, Stu. ECW taught me how to work hard. OVW and WWE taught me how to work smart. So,
well, you've just sent me nicely into my next question. I was going to say, not a lot of people know this, But you were one of the first guys to help bring through a man called the Prototype, who is now known as John Cena. Is that correct?
Absolutely. When ECW went out of business, I knew eventually I was going to get to WWE. I just didn't know when. So, I mean, literally the week after ECW closed, I'm booking shows for England. I'm going to Japan. I'm going to Germany, Mexico, Australia. I went around the world. And Rick Bassman, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. I've got to call Rick. He's in Hawaii now. I haven't talked to him in a while. But he brought me out to UPW, where I started teaming with Frankie Kazarian out there. I got out there originally thanks to Hardcore Kid Aaron Aguilera. He was a big conduit in that. So I went out there and met with Frankie and those guys. And there was a young John Cena out there who had been broken into the business and brought over by the Bell brothers. Mike Bell, God rest his soul, Chris Bell, Mark Bell. They got John out there. And John.
There's that Chris Bell, the documentary maker.
The Bell brothers. The Bell brothers were the ones in California. I used to stay with them out in California doing UPW, and that's what I was. And UPW was hot back then. The UPW was on everybody's lips. It was a territory that they were running in conjunction with WWE. There was a lot of talent scouts out there. And John was out there. You could see early on he was a good dude. He worked hard. And then when finally, WWE, we got around to doing a good contract and doing something together, when I had to move to OVW, John was one of the first guys I met down here on day one. And, I haven't seen him in, 10 years. But every time I was around John, he was a gentleman. He was cool. He bust his ass. And he's one of the most legendary figures who's ever been in wrestling. People don't give him enough credit. They really don't.
No, I mean, I've heard stories about he used to drive the van and go and set the rings up and everything.
Yep, sure did. I mean, you can't achieve what he's achieved, Stu, physically or in the ring or behind the scenes or any of that, unless you have an insane work ethic.
Yeah.
It's just, you either had that or you don't. There's other guys who were top guys that didn't achieve the level that John achieved, because not that they didn't have the work ethic, but everything fell in place for John. He was the right guy in the right place at the right time. And he takes advantage of every opportunity given to him, and he deserves every single dime that he makes.
That's awesome, man. That's lovely. That's lovely to hear. I want to talk about your time now in the WWE when you went across there, because for me personally, as soon as I saw you there, my face lit up. I was like, oh my god, I was so happy for you, but I just felt to me that it wasn't you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, Stu, and I get that when you're in the WWE, if you're an artist, if you consider yourself Rembrandt or Michelangelo, they are quite possibly going to hand you watercolors to paint with. And you've got to go out there and do the best watercolor painting you can do. At that point, I was the one who created Simon Dean. It was my idea. It was my gimmick, the whole thing. I knew they weren't going to put me on TV as Nova. So they asked me to come up with something, and I did. And I created everything, the infomercials, the idea, all of it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That must be a rare thing, right? I shouldn't think a lot of people get that luxury.
Well, I mean, yeah, they asked me, hey, what's your idea? And I sat with Vince McMahon and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to sell a workout system, the whole thing. I came up with the infomercials, all of it. And he said, yeah, run with it. So we filmed vignettes, we did the infomercials, all that. And I knew early on, after the first or second week, it was going to be a mid-card act. It was going to be probably a not-so-serious type heel that was going to be used to get other guys over. I was only going to be able to get so far with it. There's only so much you can do in the ring, Stu, and behind the scenes. Your fate is decided as soon as you get there. Whatever the perception of you is, one way or the other, that's the way it's always going to be. You really can't change people's minds. And I didn't have a ton of political allies. I didn't have a ton of people going to bat for me. Vince liked the gimmick. Stephanie liked it. Hunter was cool. I was cool with everybody. But I was never penciled in to be that guy. And you know what? For a dude who was 5'10", 200 pounds from Toms River, New Jersey, who had no contacts in the business, to have the career that I had, I actually overachieved, Stu, and I couldn't be prouder of what I accomplished.
Well, like I say, I've always been very proud to know you and call you a friend of mine. I was incredibly excited just to see you get there. And
thank you, bro.
I know I was. I remember, because it hadn't been long since we've been hanging out, and I remember I was incredibly proud. And like I say, it's you have had a phenomenal career, and no one can ever take that away from you. Carry on.
I was going to say, Stu, you got to remember this. The day I remember, I'll never forget it, Stu. The day I wrestled in Madison Square Garden, it was a big moment for me. Sergeant Slaughter came up to me, and Sarge was talking to me, and he said, "You know what, Simon? You got to remember, a lot of great players never got to play in Yankee Stadium."
Boom.
And I thought about that, and I said, he's absolutely right. There's a lot of great wrestlers. There's a lot of guys who are way better than me, Stu. They never got the shot. They never got a chance. They never got a hook. For whatever reason. And the wrestling business, people forget about this. Wrestling is not fair. It's not supposed to be fair.
Yes.
I don't care how long you've done it, how many dues you paid, how much sacrifice, how good you are. Ultimately, wrestling is a worked sport run by marks, and I mean that in a good way. It's predetermined, and people who are not you are going to decide the outcome of how much you make, how much you win, how much you lose. All of it. Your fate is in your hands of how much you can control your look, you can control your matches to a degree, you can control your attitude and all that stuff, but there's so much you can't control. So once you accept that and go in there and take it for what it is, try to make as much money as you can, don't kill yourself, don't kill anybody, and get out with enough on your resume where you can get over in the real world, that's all that matters.
That's a phenomenal soundbite, which I'm going to tell all my students to make sure they tune into next week, because that's phenomenal advice.
It's the truth, Stu. It's the words I live by now. In the real world now, in the banking world, in the finance world, I've been in the real world for 10 years. And everybody who I meet, they all know what I did. They love it. It makes me unique. And at the end of the day, no one in the real world cares that Stu Allen or Mike Bucci, they don't care that we were not The Undertaker or Shawn Michaels. Yeah. Real people are blown away by the fact that we are professional wrestlers. We have videos on YouTube. We're bigger than average guys. So people are floored by that, man. And if you can use that same charisma and you work the gimmick and kind of get over in real life and all that, you have such a leg up over so many other people, it's not even funny.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm much like you. I work in the funeral industry, which is obviously hugely busy. And so, during the day, I'm not the dominator anymore. I'm just me. But like I say, I totally hear your sentiment and agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And I feel bad because there's so many guys, Stu. Here's the thing. The average career in the WWE is only like 3 or 4 years long. And there's so many guys. Think 80 or 90 guys in NXT, and you got a 20-something-year-old kid who goes down there for a couple years and trains, and then they never make the main roster, or they get released, or whatever it is. Their life is not over. Nice. Like, I would love to talk to those guys sometime and just say, hey, look, man, it'll be okay. You'll live. You'll make it. And, it seems like at the time the whole world is crashing down, but there's just a select few. I mean, between SmackDown and Raw and the top spots in NXT, there's probably only 30 or 40 guys that are really showcased, maybe, and another 60 or 70 under contract. That's it. Throw in New Japan and a couple guys in TNA and some other places around the world where guys can make a little bit of money. But other than that, there's tens of thousands of wrestlers who are never going to make the money that they're spending on this. So just keep it as a hobby and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. And if you look back at all the old shows, the old WrestleMania shows, so some of those, the entire roster are dead. I mean, you've travelled the world, you've been paid to travel the world to throw hundreds upon thousands of people. You've now got your health, a happy family. You can say, and obviously a flourishing career. So you can say you're one of the lucky ones, really.
100%, Stu. I say it all the time. My resume reads like a phone book. My passport has more ink in it than CM Punk had on his body. And it was all paid for by pro wrestling. I had a great time with it. I got to see stuff I'll always remember, Stu, and I've done things that I'll never forget. And I truly felt it came down to two things. In order to be great, Stu, you have to do things that other people can't do, and you have to do things that other people don't want to do. And if you do both of those, you can usually achieve what other people can only dream of achieving. And I felt as a professional wrestler for the WWE that I was living the life that other people wanted to live. They were living through us. And I carried that as a responsibility, and I took it very serious. I loved what I did, but but I also knew when it was over, the lights were over, I didn't care at all, Stu. No. I never blinked. I never got caught with the sickness. I never had to hang on, brother. I never became a drug addict. You know what I mean? Like, I never tried to, I don't know, I still do a couple of appearances and things a couple times a year. I make a couple bucks on the side, but that's it. I tell the guys when I meet them now, the young guys, last time NXT was in town, I saw some of the guys, I was talking to them, I told them point blank, I said, this is your business now, guys. It's not mine. It's in your hands. I hope you guys kill it. So
that's awesome, man. I totally agree with you, though. There's something, to me, it doesn't matter how big a star these guys are. Some of these are guys that come back and treat retirement just as a gimmick. I think there's something very tragic about that, man.
They can't survive in the real world, Stu. And the problem with the drugs and all that stuff, I don't believe, I mean, hell, I'll put my injury list up against anybody, but I never became a pillhead or drug addict. And I really think the reason a lot of guys do when they're out of the business full time, because they can't deal with reality. They can't live in the real world. They don't want to be 9 to 5. They still want to live in that fantasy bubble. So by doing the drugs or drinking or whatever it may be, it kind of dulls that pain, I guess, that mental anguish. And I think they're addicted more to what I would call like the sickness, maybe, the life, than they are like they have to take a bunch of painkillers. And I mean, of course, they're in pain too. We all are. But there's holistic ways, man. Yoga, stretching, keep your vitality up, work out, whatever you have to do. But a lot of the guys who I met over the years who were broken down and destitute and full-blown pillhead, I didn't feel sorry for them because a lot of these guys, it's all about choices, Stu. It really comes down to personal decisions and personal choices, and I chose not to wind up like that.
No, that's true, man. I mean, we've done some shows recently with some old Hall of Fame guys, and I'm not going to name names, but I mean, seeing some of them, and trying to take gimmicks left, right, and centre, and hitting on the young girls, and it's tragic. It is tragic, mate.
It's embarrassed for them. I remember I was out of ECW about a year doing an independent show in a Hall of Fame. A guy that had to have made millions of dollars came up to me to borrow my cell phone to call his wife to tell him he was going to get stiffed on his payday that night, and they weren't going to be able to pay the electric bill that week.
Oh, my God.
I'm looking around the room like, this is impossible. And it's just it's personal decisions. I always laugh, too, like you said, that when I see these guys trying to put themselves over on the young female workers or the rap kind of stuff. Like, oh, my God, this is insane.
Like you say, we've been trying to stamp on that shit. We got a whole fucking, a whole generation of paedophile promoters and people preying on young students and young females and young guys, even in the business.
I saw that.
Just to see that from people who I used to look up to and whose action figure I used to have is depressing.
I saw that. You put it on Facebook and call them. You got to do a couple more of those, man. I always crack up when I read those.
Oh, mate,
because I don't know who they are, a lot of those guys. Like, I look at, here's the first thing, though, Stu. Whenever I see you call one of them out, I swear to God, I look at it, I read the tales, I see the text messages of the expose and all that, and the first thing I say to myself, how in the hell did anyone ever let this guy train somebody in pro wrestling? Are you kidding? Usually 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. They think they're over. They're putting themselves over as a trainer. And I'm like, are you shitting me with this? How in the hell? And it just is crazy that there's an environment now where these people actually think it's worth something to go to these guys who are complete losers to teach them how to be wrestlers. I'm like, this is insane.
I know, you're exactly right. And then, so after I start dropping the hints of it, might be, you go and see them on Twitter, and all of a sudden they're visiting sick children's hospitals and publicising it. Oh, I'm a good guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's unbelievable. And you're like,
hey, brother. Stu. It's not me, Stu. Hey, I just want to tell you, man, it wasn't me, blah, blah, blah. And you're sitting around looking like, dude, I have this girl's text messages or this guy's text. And I'm just reading this stuff. I'm like, first of all, I'm 45 years old. I have nothing in common in the world of dating, because I'm single, with any woman under the age of like 36 or 37, Stu. So the whole concept meeting like.
Can you imagine trying to fucking have a conversation about One Direction with a 16-year-old? Do you know what I mean? It just
I would look at her. Anybody under the age of like 30, if they were floating in a locker room in a show, I would walk over to them and I would say, "Hey, it was very nice meeting you. Can you leave this area now?" And like I don't understand it. It's a power thing, I think.
It is 100% that.
These weasels think they're over. They're never going to be over with any real stroke or with anybody who matters. So they got to try to work the gimmick, brother, and put themselves over. And it's like, fuck off, man. You're such pieces of garbage.
And they're all guys of a certain age too. Like you say, the power thing. They're often broke promoters or guys who've remortgaged their house 10 times, who live at home with their mother and sit at home jerking off in the basement. You know what I mean? It's pathetic. Yeah. Absolutely pathetic.
But it's the world. Unfortunately, Stu, it was allowed to happen because it became a lot easier to get into the business. It became a lot easier to be a promoter, a trainer. It became easier to do all that stuff. So when there was no policeman or anybody to say no, like, hey, this can't happen, you know what? These are the pitfalls that unfortunately are out there, and they need Stu Allens and the Doug Williamses and those guys to prevent those things from happening.
Yeah, exactly. It just boggles my mind. I've got so-called friends and people who I've respected and wrestled for over the years who have turned around and been, you know, they know who these other wrestlers who've committed rapes and committed offences are, and they still work for them and with them and say nothing just to get their extra 50 quid in their pocket. And I cannot be around people like that anymore.
No, Stu, they don't care because, once again, they don't have anything in the real world to attach themselves to. So if they're not over, brother, in the wrestling ring, they get to play wrestler, whatever it may be, then what good are they, Stu? They have no value to us. And the fact that, you know, it just, I laugh at it. I mean, there's plenty of people stateside, too, that are complete pieces of shit. They preyed on children. They molested them. They're kitty touchers, all that. I don't see them. I don't really talk to them if I ever do. So a lot of the boys still do stuff with them, but we all know who it is. And it's laughable. It's laughable that it was ever allowed to continue. But unfortunately, at that level, which is the super, super minor level, what are you going to do? It's out there.
That's the thing. All we are is you've got your Harvey Weinsteins in Hollywood, and you've got, you've got paedophiles in music and everywhere else. But unfortunately, we're a very, very small subculture, aren't we? And it's hard to do.
And unless it's police, you know what happened? You know what would really change those, Stu? If some of these guys that did that stuff on a show, like there was a promoter who did that, if it was known that he molested a young girl or something like that, if he had a show one day and a bunch of the people that were working for him rolled him in the back and really put the boots to him and just annihilated him and left him like barely alive, then that stuff would stop.
Yeah, but it's not in a heartbeat, and too many frightened people out there, man. But I'll tell you what, till the day I die, I'm going to make sure they have a fucking, they have a Titan sphincter waiting in the back. Do you know what I mean?
Get them, man, get them. You know what? I sleep good at night, Stu. Here's the thing: I have the number of people who I was good to over the years, or who I helped, or who I was cool with, so far outnumbers the people who I couldn't stand or who I quote unquote had heat with. I could care less. I sleep very well at night. The people who I didn't like, odds are nobody else liked them either. Or the people who I had heat with, everybody else had heat with them too. So I don't give a shit. I never did. It probably cost me a couple bucks over the years here or there. It might have cost me a push here or there. I don't care, man. My life is great. I have a great job. My daughter's fantastic. I have guys like you who I met 17 years ago who I on a dime and be cool with. And if you're one of my boys in the business, man, if you're part of like that secret Illuminati group, and there's a bunch of us out there, I'm going to be cool to you forever, and I'll do whatever I can to help you out. If you're not, you're out. So
yeah, man, no, I totally, like I said, when we, just wrap things up because it's getting late, and I appreciate all your time. But like I said, when we brought you over, I thought you were one of the you're obviously very clean living. You never had a bad word to say about anyone. You were very, very positive. And like I said, it's great to see that life is good with you, and you're still incredibly positive about this business. And it's quite inspirational, mate. So I want to thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Stu. Again, this was a pleasure talking to you, man. Let's not wait another 17 years. I'll tell you, if you ever decide to come over to the United States, you let me know ahead of time, man. You always got a place to stay in Louisville.
And likewise, if you have a fancy holiday over here, mate, like I said, bring your daughter in. I'll pay you to teach at my school, man. We need some.
I might have to, man. I loved England. You guys are great over there. You know, it's a funny thing too. It shows you like how things are weird. You know, like when I went over there with you guys and meeting Doug over there for the first time, and I actually found out there was a young Katie Lee who came to those shows. She was in the audience. There's so many people that you interact with and twist and turn, and you just if you leave a good impression with them, Stu. And now my hope, my ask of people in the wrestling business now, I would ask them to do one thing: look at how my life turned out outside of the business. And if you leave the industry, if you're no longer full-time wrestling, if your dream has been shattered, say to yourself, hey, man, let me get a hold of Nova. How did he do this? How is this possible? Because this dude not only is thriving, I feel my life is better now than it ever was when I was wrestling. And I had a great life back then, but I love what I do now.
Do you know what? Just before we wrap up, I want to say one thing. There's something left I'd love to see from you, and that's a book.
You know what, Stu? I've been approached. A good friend of mine, Mike Johnson, who's at PWInsider.com. He's been a friend of mine for 25 years. Every year or so, he hounds me about doing a book, and I've thought about it.
Do it.
I'll never do the book that's going to expose who I saw.
Just the story that you've got. No, just the story, the fact that you're living, you're breathing, you've come out happy, you're still positive. That's so fucking rare. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I want to do, man. Something like that, like a positivity type thing, and show, hey, look, for every Nova or DDP or us guys who got out and made something big of ourselves in life afterwards, don't group us all together. A Stu Allen who's alive and well and had a great life and all that. Don't lump us in with all these piece of shit, derelict losers who everybody. When you tell everybody you're a wrestler, Stu, or that you're a wrestler, they all instantly think we're like Mickey Rourke from The Wrestler.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
What they swear to God. And then people, once they talk to me, when they come in my bank and they see my action figure in the corner and we get talking for a little while and I tell them I was a wrestler, they're completely floored because their stereotype has been shattered. Guys like us, Stu, we're changing the narrative, and that's what I want to continue to do.
Oh, man, I love you to pieces, my friend. It's been a pleasure talking to you, dude. Thank you ever so much.
My pleasure. Anytime, hit me up, man. I wish you all the best with this. I look forward to more of your comments, calling out those weasels on Facebook. I wish you all the best, my friend.
Lots of love to you, mate. And like I say, let's do this again soon.
Absolutely, brother. Love you, man. Take care.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth, you cock jazz. This is Stiff Right Hand.
Right, we're back here on Stiff Right Hand. That was my interview with Nova. I haven't spoken to him in... really?
Sorry.
I haven't spoken to him in 17 years, and it was like we'd never left each other's arms. It was wonderful. What a lovely fella he is. And success story in his own right, really. Going on to... things just go show his life outside of wrestling once it's said and done. The cold snap continues here, and it's really cold. It's fucking blisteringly cold, and it's hurting my it's hurting all of me. I think that's me getting old, but it's been a bit miserable, isn't it?
It was so cold that I thought my fingers were going to snap off. I'm not even being dramatic either. I couldn't turn the key in the bloody lock today. My fingers were so fucking cold.
The only bonus of wind that is that fucking cold is that it's like nature telling me when I've got my flies undone. Because I went outside today to conduct to drive on a funeral, and I had my flies undone. I normally have been plums akimbo for the world to see. But on this occasion, nature said, "Oi, do yourself up. Put the boys away."
The amount of eye contact that's going on here is alarming.
So, yeah, I'd what were you talking about earlier? It was a national...
No, try again.
No, World Book...
It's World Book Day.
World Book Day.
Yeah, it's World Book Day today. And do you know what The good thing about this cold snap, what the beast from the east, this Snowmageddon, the best thing about it actually is
that everyone's talking about the weather and not loads of people's kids.
Yeah, so it's not all my social media is filled up with people's kids dressed up for a book day, because other people's kids are weird looking, aren't they? Let's be honest.
I quite like it because I've got some very theatrical types at my work.
No, because, right, there's like maybe 2 kids on an entire newsfeed that have done a proper good effort. You're talking about Duncan Brown's kids.
Duncan's daughter Eliza, and
she always does a brilliant job. She always does an excellent job, but you can tell it's a family that actually reads together.
Yes, exactly.
I don't like the level of stupidity, 1 from the kids and 2 from the parents. Like, this is little Susan Jr. and she's dressed as Alice in Wonderland. What, the entire fucking book? Is she dressed as the book Alice in Wonderland, is she? Or is she dressed as the character... let me have this round. Is she dressed as the character Alice from Alice in Wonderland?
I know, it's so fucking lazy.
It's so stupid. It's fucking stupid. She's Alice in Wonderland. Well, have you done like a panoramic diorama of Wonderland that she like fucking walks around with? Because unless you've done that, she's not Alice in Wonderland. She's fucking Alice. That's that. I hate it. Oh, the other thing I fucking hate is when parents put their fucking kids in Disney costumes, right? And this is a controversial one because, yes, most Disney...
Yeah, not really a book, is it?
Most Disney films are based... Qualifier of the sentence is based on a book, right? So Frozen, for example, is based... on
if I'd have done that, you'd have gone fucking mental. Why is it hard for you to?
Well, I'm just trying it on for size, and I don't like it very much.
Stop it.
Listen, let me get on with it. So it's based on the Snow Queen, which is like a Scandinavian folk tale. It was written by Hans Christian Andersen, I think. I think that's one of his. That wasn't the Brothers Grimm. So they will always argue, it's based on the Snow Queen. Well, the film Disney's Frozen is a fucking film. Elsa is a character from the film Frozen. And if you're one of those parents that are like, yeah, but there's a book called Frozen, that's merchandise and that's fucking different. Like, Disney didn't write the book Frozen and then make the film. So, no, just stop it. That's fucking lazy. I hate it. I'd rather people dressed up as, like, Dennis the Menace or something from the Beano, because that's, like, more of a fucking book than a Disney film is.
Yeah, if they'd have had that shit in my day, I'd have gone a bit as Biff of Bacon or something like that from Viz.
Yeah.
Or one of the fat slags. Yeah, but like you say, when it's done well, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's good. It's a good reason. I can see why they do it. It's fun and it's a good reason to get kids reading. And
I did see a kid dressed as Frankenstein's monster,
and I bet they got that wrong. I bet they said it's gone as Frankenstein.
Obviously.
It's gone as Frankenstein. It's gone of all of Hammer. It's gone the entire Hammer back catalogue.
I did pick on that, to be honest. Like, he's dressed as Frankenstein. Well, no, because he's got stitches and like bolts and stuff. So that's Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, Frankenstein. No, because Dr. Frankenstein made him, so he's Frankenstein's monster. He's not Frankenstein. The monster isn't called Frankenstein. He's called the monster.
He's called Hubert.
And also, Dr. Frankenstein technically is the monster.
No, you're right.
In that book. So.
It is.
So that's you're all. So you got 3 kinds of wrong, Susan.
Well, the thing as well is, so that's good. Good reason of the weather, and also people going on this morning about our kids. The kids are off. The roads are actually fine today. So unless the electricity or heating was off at the school, why were they off? I remember very clearly, and I'm sure we've discussed that on air before, having to do... the kids shouldn't be allowed to walk to school in the snow. I remember having to do outlandish medieval shit in the snow when I was a kid, one of which was fucking...
Don't say cross-country, because we've literally said this on this episode.
Yeah. Yeah,
we've literally...
But it wasn't just cross-country, it was any form of sport.
Oh, yeah.
In my pants.
Yeah, and we had to play hockey or rugby, and the field was frozen.
Yeah.
So frozen fucking solid. Yeah.
It was fucking horrific. Yeah. Oh, God, there's nothing worse as well than taking a bump on that shit.
Listen, right, we can't make them go out in the cold. We can't make them go out in the rain. There might be a leaf that might be dangerous. A squirrel might tell them to fuck off. There's loads of reasons. Did
I discuss that in this episode? Yes, I thought I dreamt it.
Yes, we did. And you just,
I think I made myself have a nightmare about it as well, because it's... so sometimes it still sticks in your psyche, all that shit.
I got a question relating to all this.
Go on.
Schools and kids and stuff. One head teacher has banned snowball fights from the school, but has gone so far as to forbid, that ist verboten, it's strictly verboten for the kids to even touch the snow. They may not touch the snow. Discuss.
Is that
health and safety gone mad?
No, it's just shit. It's just stupid.
It's a bit stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Are they not going to touch the snow? They're going to hover above it. It's ridiculous. It's
all
just
kids
shit.
must now take witchcraft.
Yeah, it's stupid, man. Utterly fucking
All kids should
ridiculous.
do witchcraft, actually, because then they'd be better people.
No, they wouldn't. They'd burn their school down like you did.
Oh, yeah. Or I may not have burned
the
school
school down.
down.
Not have been. It might have been someone else who...
Yes, it might have been Wanya.
So, yeah, earlier on I got sent a thing by a few people about our dear old mate Pip Carter Bubblegum and his ongoing comedy life, and the fact that he's gone to work at McDonald's now, and saying how much he loves it and this and that and the other.
Do you know what I think?
What?
I think you shouldn't give him any more airtime. End of that.
I've already done it. I've already just given him some airtime, and but I just wanted to say that yes, he's gone on to do this and that and the other, but ultimately still working around young people and kids, etc, etc, and I don't think that's a good thing. And so then I had some classic retorts from some of his I wouldn't even call them fans. What are they?
Sympathisers.
One of which was that the woman who said I can't remember what she said now. Or did she say? Oh yeah, she basically said no, one of them was saying, "Oh, go back to Germany, you Nazi."
That's just racist.
Which she'd obviously gone to the trouble of having a look at my Facebook and saying that.
Do you know that's really funny? Is that if someone's just taking a look at you randomly at your Facebook, that's the thing that she chose to pick on.
Yeah,
that's fucking insane.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's go back to Germany, you Nazi. So my reply to her was, well, not only have you stood up for, you know, a paedophile and a woman beater, and someone and a doll scrounger, and etc, you're also racist. So well done, you. The other person was a girl called Laura, who, you know, was fairly intelligent in her reasoning until she said, grown men and women pretending they've never had an inappropriate relationship at any age are throwing their mouth about stuff they're probably guilty of themselves. I'm pretty sure I've never had an inappropriate relationship at any age. So if that's your caveat, if that's your argument, then you need looking at too.
Don't you think that attitude just sort of like normalises it, and that probably we should stay away from that sort of thing?
I'm never gonna. No. I'm never gonna stay fucking away from it.
I'm not on about you. I'm on about her. Like that's like, oh, everyone's had an inappropriate relationship.
It's bizarre.
It's trivialising that's an
well, it is trivialising it, but then people like that. That was the reason why I wanted to talk about it. It's not to give him any airtime, but was to say that if you look at the if you break it down, the psychology of it, it's quite frightening, because it does show an awful lot of sociopathic behaviour, the people that sympathise with that, because they're able to shut off that part of the brain that actually agrees or disagrees with the bad part. So, for instance, if you were driving down the road and you hit somebody, well, I can just carry on my journey because they were in the way. You know, it's not my fault. You know, you're basically saying, well, yes, he did that, but you know, who's to say you haven't nonced an entire fucking tent full of scouts as well? Do you know what I mean? So, no, hold on. If you're creating things to rationalise it in your head, that is not my problem. What you think is not my fucking problem. That's your problem, and that's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that all I've got to say on that is just that I would be wary of, as you said, using that to trivialise fucking something that is very serious. And these people that are saying these things and snapping back and whatever, and being overly defensive about it when people are just trying to have a discussion about it, and that's a good thing. I think that they should be to be careful. Oh, where am I going? Sorry, I've ruined it. So what I was going to say is that this is all kind of fucking moot anyway, because these women that are so blindly and loyally standing by him and defending him haven't seen the evidence that we've seen.
No,
and haven't seen the conversations, haven't seen the case in question, and also haven't seen everyone that has come forward with extra evidence, with extra screenshots, with extra bits of information regarding the same person. So they are reacting as if like this is coming from this podcast, from me, from you, from anybody in our industry, from a place of spite, and it's actually coming from a place of we know better because we've seen this fucking shit, and it's insane. And morally and ethically, I am very concerned about anyone, especially women, that can turn off that moral part of their brain and just seem to forget about it and not use it in their reasoning and their decision making. Like, that's a red flag to me. That's a big fucking red flag. And that's what I was going to say.
Yes, it's true. And it's, like I say, it's all out there, though. And I think, I put that out there and I don't regret it. Like I say, it upset some people, but there you go. That's one of those things. Before we wrap up, 5-Star Wrestling, they've had another show tonight, and obviously been very affected by the snow.
What was their excuse last time?
But they're basically Rey Mysterio's not on the show tonight. That was announced an hour before the show started, apparently.
Ooh.
I know the guys have had flight problems, etc., etc.
You'd know an hour before the show if someone like that wasn't going to make it, though, wouldn't you?
Well, you would, yeah. But the guy is Dan Hinkles. He's basically running what I call a version of the Wrestling Make-A-Wish Foundation. You know, it's what we spoke about with Chris the other week. I've seen it for years and years and years. Guys that haven't got any fucking money. Haven't got any money, so they go do crowdfunding. They've got rich parents, whatever they do, and they spunk all that money real fast. And the guys who are getting good paydays out of it, great. I can see they'll probably try and get them to contract soon, and then it'll all fall on its arse. We've seen this time and time and time again. Great for anyone who's involved with it, but it's a short-term payday. The crowd numbers speak for themselves. So take that with a pinch of salt, guys, and don't be disappointed when it comes crashing down, brother, because it will do. I promise. So, anything more from you before I wrap this episode up?
Well, I think I need to make some dinner, really. So
that's always what is said at the end of these episodes.
Well,
either bed or dinner.
Do you want dinner? Yes or no?
I do want dinner.
Okay.
I really fancy some
crispy Peking duck.
Well, in more ways than one, dear. So yes, say good night to the folks, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Why did you do that with all?
Oh, I don't know. Why do we do anything?
I don't know, but we struggle
on.
We're
going to get into this.
We struggle on, don't we? Anyway, thanks for listening to another wonderful edition of Stiff Right Hand.
Cockamamie episode of Stiff Right Hand.
Absolute nonsense. There was no fucking no racist interludes and no music this week. It was just good, clean, wholesome, dirty, violent family fun. And so thank you all for listening. Tune in again same time next week, and in the meantime, don't be mad and get out.
If you have been affected by another subject matter or topics covered on this week's Stiff Right Hand podcast, please call 0800 go fuck yourself.